Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the 𝗖𝗨 project. The 𝗖𝗨 project is all about those communications and being able to transfer cryptocurrencies to your contacts lightning fast. As we get into this video, guys, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. Really appreciate that. If you're new, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and you won't miss another update. Right, we're going to be talking about the 𝗖𝗨 price in this video, and we're going to talk about what to expect next. So this is the 𝗖𝗨 with paired against USDT weekly chart, and KuCoin is our data source, so you can replicate this on your own trading view. Now, we can see that the stochastic relative strength index has shown that we have been oversold, and we're starting to move out of this area right now. So the weekly chart is looking pretty bullish as we look to grow our stochastic back to the overbought area, as we did during the earlier phases as we went through this motion here. Now, on this weekly chart, we also have two Fibonacci's. We have the one on the right-hand side, and of course, we have the Fibbo on the left. Now, there's two different things here. We obviously have the correction here, which is where basically Bitcoin had pulled down to about 28k from its highs. Now, this also meant that many of the altcoins also followed, but also those micro cap coins in the case of 𝗖𝗨 also had major pullbacks. Now, this Fibonacci retracement tool is basically taking that high point and of course that low point, and then obviously plotting out some interesting areas. So this one actually tops out up there at 5.1 cent. This being said, though, this is a micro cap coin, so it doesn't take a lot of money to actually move the needle, and therefore it's important to acknowledge that although the technicals are indicating 5 cent, we could see this absolutely go on a tear, and a dollar should be quite easily achievable under the right marketing circumstances. So for 𝗖𝗨, I think it's a project that we have to monitor quite closely, in the same way that we have to monitor MTV incredibly closely. A lot of these micro cap coins, like DSLA, MTV, 𝗖𝗨, to name just a couple, they are all very low price predictions on the Fibonacci retracement tools, and this is just because there isn't a lot of information really to go by, and the technicals don't really know exactly what to expect, not just yet. They're using past history, which is fantastic if there's a lot of history, but if there's a limited amount of history, it becomes a little bit more problematic in terms of trying to figure out where things are going. So we have to monitor them slightly differently than we would something like XRP or Cardano, where there's actually a bit more history. It's important that we obviously monitor this on a week-by-week basis, a day-by-day basis, and the hourlies to understand whether or not we are going to be slipping into any bearish scenarios, or whether or not we should be looking much further ahead. Now, when it comes to exit strategies, lock in some ideas of where you want to go, but ultimately I do feel that things like 𝗖𝗨, MTV, DSLA, they are projects that are going to do much better in the next bull run. So lock in some profits in this one, but really double down during the bear market, build significant positions on these, and at least that's my opinion and what I intend to do. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so make sure you do your own research. Do not just listen to any influencer and just buy into a project. Make sure you do some solid research, and hopefully in doing so you'll come to the same conclusions I did. Now, with that, obviously, on this right-hand side, 5.1 is your high. On the left-hand side, the other Fibonacci retracement shows us 7.4. So again, two reasonably low-level price predictions, but again, would carry significant weight because this particular cryptocurrency is at 0.5 cent right now, and we are talking about 1,300% in potential gains on the table here. So not a significant amount of percentage gains to be made. Now, obviously, when we talk about potential cents going up to 5 cent, going up to 7 cent, it seems really low. But with a project that is only 0.5 cent to purchase, you could build a very significant position and then still actually achieve a pretty decent return on your investment just by selling at 5 cent. So again, do some research on this one, see if you like it. If it is, then definitely have a good play around with some of these technicals as well. Now, what we're going to do is drop down into our daily view, and then from here we're going to obviously talk about what's been going on most recently. So like we said, we were oversold and we're just exiting that position on our weekly chart, and we can see that we actually came down nice and low most recently on this correction here, and we started to move back to the north side. Now, we're not overbought yet, so there's still plenty of room to grow, but most realistically we are going to find some resistance up here on the daily chart. We take a look at the resistance lines, there's definitely something here about 6.4, but also at 6 cent as well. So we can see these wicks here are really coming into play. Now, with micro cap coins, they are considered to be more high risk than something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, for example, right? And therefore, money flows out of these projects much faster than you would see them flow out of something like Bitcoin when you started to see, some kind of pullback. So this one is heavily traded. It's no no traders tend to leave open positions on something like 𝗖𝗨 or MTV or DSLA. Instead, they make sure they basically complete their trades before finishing the day. Now, this obviously means that you get these wicks, right? You get high wicks and low wicks, and the bodies are usually quite small. And this is just basically trading activity, buying and selling during the course of the day. Now, this is quite common with microcap coins, but as the value grows over time and they take out some key technical areas, that starts to get a little bit less. And this is a key thing that which we would take a look back at the history. Those wicks become a little bit lower, right? People are happy to actually leave those trading for a little bit longer over a longer period of time. Right? So as we look to go up to the area of the 618, the 702, and the 786 for 𝗖𝗨 here, then that trading volatility will obviously die down as well. But again, this one being the way that it is, microcap coin, do expect swings in the market much more than you would normally see with something like Bitcoin, Cardano, for example. So what are we talking about here in terms of price levels that we need to be paying attention to? So right now, growing, I expect that we would basically come up towards our resistance line of 6.4 or 0.0064. Okay, that's going to be the resistance before having a bit of a pullback. Now, in line with everything that's going on with the weekly, we are looking to obviously appreciate over time, right? Every week we're looking to basically increase our position here with 𝗖𝗨. So we should look to have a price appreciation on the 𝗖𝗨 token over a course of weeks and months. Specifically, as we come towards the end of the bull run, we should be up towards those high extension levels on the Fibonacci. What does that mean for the daily? Well, the daily is obviously going to be mixed of 7 candles for one of those weekly candles, right? So we will be looking for significant pushes to the upside and then some smaller pullbacks to occur, right? And this is something that you saw quite a bit when you were actually pushing the way up, right? So we saw good swings to the upside, we saw corrections, and then we saw more swing to the upside. That's what we'll be looking for to happen and to reoccur as we start to come back to the upside over the next few months. Now, when we actually drop down into our hourly view, this is where we start to see a slightly different picture, right? We can see that we're already starting to have this correction here. We're losing the momentum from our stochastic, and we'll start to see some pretty decent price appreciation coming in the next few hours. We basically will be looking to pull back down. I think there's going to be a bottom being found at approximately 0.0051. That seems to be a pretty interesting support level to be held there, although we have already wicked down to this area, which also seems pretty logical. So I will mark that one up if I can just find my horizontal ray. What we'll do is we'll just drop that one. I think it's about there. So what we can do is we can see here that this was a resistance line, this was a resistance line, it was a support, and it's now a support. Now, obviously, as we look to head down a little bit lower, we'll obviously find some additional areas of support for us, right? So right here is another interesting level that we want to be paying attention to. This is basically 0.0005. So again, we aren't going to be losing huge amounts of money at this point before we start to see that correction come in and push back to the upside. So again, what we'll be looking for here is to basically continue a bit of a correction to basically put us back into this oversold area. What you're witnessing right now is a bit of a move like this one here, where we start to see a bit of a reversal before coming back down into the oversold area. So again, we'll be monitoring that. Now, when we actually throw the volumes on here, you can see that it's basically being dragged down by significant selling volume. And what we need to see is basically a decrease in that volume if we want to hold that support. If we don't see the decrease in volume, then we'll obviously pull back down a little bit lower into these lower bounds of about 5 or 0.5. Okay. So right now, that's a pretty interesting thing to just note as we look to push up towards those higher areas on the 𝗖𝗨 chart here. We obviously have to acknowledge that we are first correcting down, and then we'll be pushing back up in line with, again, what is going on our daily chart. We'll be looking to push that up as well, but we are on the hourly kind of correction at the moment. And again, that forms a part of where we are going with our weekly, pushing that stochastic up on the weeks as well. But if we're ever in doubt with these micro cap coins, it's probably best to avoid taking too much of a look at the hourly chart and those really small time frames, right? Spend more time with the dailies and the weeklies. This gives you the better approach as to where we're going longer term. If you get a little bit too nervous, this project might not be one for you, but ultimately I do feel that this is where we're going to see some significant gains. We are looking at about 1,300% overall, right? So you can see what kind of multiplication it can have on your coins by holding this project. Now, obviously, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do feel that this is a project that is going to be best suited to the next run, but it is still going to do very, very well this particular cycle as well. Guys, if you have found this brief update on 𝗖𝗨 useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. I appreciate that. If you're new, do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and of course, in doing so, you will not miss another 𝗖𝗨 update. Guys, with that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.